Lots of you guys are probably clicking on this video to see if this pistol that sells less than $400 is possibly as good as a Glock 19. In some ways, no, it's not. Some very important ways I would say yes, absolutely. In fact, I tend to favor it.
Pow! Pow, pow, pow! Too powerful, it's too powerful.
Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David, and this is the Arex Delta Gen 2 M, and the M means medium. Yeah, I don't know what it means, but the M is their Glock 19 flush fit 15 round gun, whereas the L is their 17 round mid-length gun like a Glock 17, and the X series is their Glock 45 style gun. Now, the big difference between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 is you can see this firing pin striker position indicator that pops out when I pull it to the rear, because this is not a fully pre-cocked striker. The act of staging the trigger makes the firing pin move to the rear and then release just like the safe action on a Glock. So that is a bold claim in the opener, and I'm going to break it down for you guys. But first, I do need to shout out my channel sponsors. First and foremost, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters who do not look fat in those pants. Second is Optics Planet, where you absolutely should not use code HUMM, and it does absolutely nothing. You shouldn't try it. And my ammo sponsor for the video and the gun sponsor was Global Ordnance, who provided both ammo and pistol for this video. Yeah, I know, you're gonna be like, well, hold on, he's shilling. Just hear me out, I'm gonna show my work. And to qualify that, first and foremost, I said that I like this gun better than a Glock. Does that mean that this gun is like super awesome and my favorite pistol? No. It just means that I like it better than a Glock. Now, I've competed with Glocks in the past. I have a bunch of Glocks in the safe, but they stay in the safe because Glocks require a special kind of grip to shoot fluently, which a grip that I have no longer developed. So it takes a second to kind of get back into how to shoot Glocks fluently. But before we go there, let's talk about the areas where the Glock does excel and beat the Delta M. So my Glock 19, it basically has the Noah's Ark of holsters. You can go on the internet and find any kind of holster you want for a Glock 19. The aftermarket, if you want trigger bits or sights or basically anything for the Glock 19, there's all of that available for you, and more stuff you weren't even aware of that you wanted or needed. None of that is in place for the Delta M. There are some holsters, but nowhere near as many. You can find some Amazon holsters. The holster support is kind of growing, but at the same time, you're probably not getting holsters from all your favorite brands. As far as the aftermarket parts are concerned, the specific sights for the Gen 2 guns, apparently they do take SIG P320 sights, according to forums that I found on the internet doing research, but at the same time, you're not going to be able to find all the sorts of different sights for it. Glock magazines are super cheap. You can get Glock magazines for like the P-Mag. Sometimes you can find them for like 12 to 15 bucks, which is unbelievable because the mags work well enough. The OEM Glock mags are 25 to 30 bucks. Whereas the Delta M, you're buying magazines for 30 bucks all day long. Well, and they're decent magazines, honestly. They're quite nice. They're metal-bodied magazines, plastic base plate, kind of like most other guns that aren't Glock. So that's kind of where the Glock destroys the Delta, is in the brand name recognition and all of the aftermarket stuff. But where does the Delta punch back? Basically the shooting experience. This gun shoots, in my hands, better than the Glock does. Now I realize your ability to shoot a gun is going to be based around your grip and your experience with that gun. That said, I had zero practice with the Delta M, and I picked this up and immediately shot it better than the Glock. And that's for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the grip is kind of narrower, so the way that it seats the gun in your hand, specifically around the back strap, it comes to a nice taper up under the grip tang. So the gun seeps very deeply in your hand, allowing your thumb to kind of come alongside the pistol very nicely. And there's still, while the grip is narrower, and I do have the large back straps installed, but there's still a good pocket in a good place, almost like a palm swell sort of, that you can get your support hand kind of put onto the gun. So the gun becomes very controllable. And this medium fissure texture that they have on the front and back strap, and sort of this like light medium they've got on the side, actually do a very good job as far as keeping your hands planted to the pistol. They have these accelerator cuts or something built into the slide, which I found is a nice kind of index point that really allowed me to crank down with my support hand and help keep the gun flat. Swapping over onto Mr. Glock, you can see the grip traction kind of gives up about halfway up the gun, and that's a very important point to impart force from your support hand in basically resisting the rotation of the gun. And these little knobby textures, it just doesn't do a great job, and the way the grip tang is shaped, it's just kind of fat and it throws your thumb out that wide. It doesn't feel like it seats deeply in your hand. Now that said, lots of dudes are pistol wizards with Glocks and can make them do absolutely silly stuff. And I used to be able to do that stuff too, but to a lay person who doesn't pick up guns and train with them a ton, specifically talking about the Glock platform, the Delta M was just much easier for me to get along with and apply my current pistol grip and get good results. The Delta M has a better trigger in my opinion, and when I say it's better, it doesn't mean it's a great trigger necessarily, but it's functionally pretty much the same. It's about a 5 to 6 pound trigger, but the difference is that there is no sponge on the trigger pull. It stays on the wall, then it releases. It's very clean and very predictable, which means when you're trying to eke out precision shots at like 25 yards or something like that, it's very easy to stage the trigger and break the shot when the sight picture looks nice, whereas the Glock trigger out of the box is just a little bit spongier and there is a number of false walls you have to roll through. So immediately I was grouping very well with the Delta M.
That's 15 yards. I was keeping them there until I got lazy and started going fast.
Before we get to the negatives, I'll just talk about some stuff that I did notice about it. Number one, it's got a loaded chamber indicator right there in front of the optic, but the loaded chamber indicator didn't really smoke the glass on my optic, which, you know, normally that's a problem that you get into. I don't know if it was the ammo, I don't know what, but it wasn't so much an issue in the couple few hundred rounds that I put through the thing. The other thing that is interesting is you'll notice there's no external extractor. That's because the extractor is on the inside of the pistol. You can kind of see it in there, which is kind of an interesting choice since nobody really tends to do that these days. But I didn't have any issues with extraction. It threw brass okay, and there's that. The optics plate system that it comes with is kind of the polymer spacers that go down into the optic pocket, and then the screws go directly down into the top of the slide versus the sacrificial plate system that like the Glock MOS series has. The sights that come on the Delta M is a blacked out target rear with a white dot front, which is a sight picture that I quite like, but it doesn't matter because they don't co-witness through the optic that I immediately mounted on the gun. So one thing that was kind of an odd choice is the mag catch as it's set up right now is fully ambi, meaning that you can press in on the opposite side and drop mags, but at the same time the button sticks out more on the left hand side of the pistol for right-handed people. And that's kind of probably the biggest negative I have about the pistol, honestly, was that the mag button isn't super positive on getting the mags to drop. It wasn't a bad thing, but if it was a competition pistol or something like that, which it's not because it's a 15 round pistol, then I might have a bigger problem with it. The mag well is similarly, I mean, it's flared and enlarged slightly, but not a ton. And really kind of the aftermarket are kind of the biggest concerns that I have. So when you think about the pistol and that, like, this is an optics ready pistol that the experience with is very similar to a Glock, and in many ways, I think it's a little bit better than this $620 pistol. Those small differences that are just small things that I tend to prefer are amplified considering that this gun costs, you know, over $200 less than the other one. I realize justifying gun purchases is totally a thing on YouTube. There will be those of you in the comments doing the very same thing. And I'm not doing that when I say that I would prefer this pistol over the Glock. I can just shoot the thing better without having to train up on it. It gives me access to capability that would require, you know, training and familiarity with a grip that basically only works on the Glock platform of guns. And I shoot a lot of platform of guns, so the Glock grip isn't so much something that I'm interested in these days. So sound off in the comments if you've got a Delta M. What has your experience on the things been? Sound off in the comments, let me know. I appreciate you guys. Catch you on the next one.